Oh, finally. I can now get into my specifics as to why I did not like Avatar Fire and Ash. And yeah, I expect the comments to be very civil. I've already seen some very nice comments, like somebody telling me to quit my job and someone else saying, this is not the proper human being to be reviewing an Avatar movie. I don't even know what that means. Okay. What's going on, you guys? James here with another real review, and today I'm getting into all of my spoiler-free thoughts on Avatar Fire and Ash, a movie directed by James Cameron, and it hits theaters December 19th. You can watch it in many formats. I watched it in Dolby Cinema with the high frame rate format. It was interesting. However, this movie is one you got to get comfortable for because it is 3 hours and 13 minutes long, and I'm telling y'all, I felt every hour and every minute of this movie. But the film itself is, of course, a continuation of James Cameron's Avatar franchise. You had Way of Water, which is the film that precedes this one. So if you haven't seen that movie, you're going to need to see it for this film to even make a little bit of sense. Now, before we get into my review, a huge thank you to 20th Century Studios for giving me the chance to watch this early for review, again, in Dolby Cinema. And hey, if you do enjoy talking about movies, TV, and all the news in between, just like me, hit the big red button below, subscribe to the channel, tap on that bell, like this video, and help us get to 31,000 subscribers. Can we get there before the new year? I hope. But, guys, this film, this movie, listen, I came in with an open mind. I know some people were like, you hated it from the start. I didn't. I actually went in with an open mind because I want to enjoy an Avatar movie, okay? The first one, I saw it in theaters, and I thought, oh, wow, this is a cool experience. And then I got out of the theater, and I watched it again and thought, this is not really that great. And then Way of Water came around, and I was not a fan of Avatar Way of Water. My goodness, that movie just felt like a slog. Now, Avatar Fire and Ash does some things better than Way of Water, but is it a better movie? And that's what I'm going to answer today. So let's get into this film and what it's all about. Again, it's directed by James Cameron, and it stars Zoe Saldaña as Neytiri, Sam Worthington as Jake Sully, and Oona Chaplin as Varang, the new villain in this film. You know, the one with the red and the tribal stuff, and it gets weird at some points. It does. Now, the movie itself continues to follow Jake and Neytiri's family as they grapple with grief after their son's death, encountering a new aggressive Na'vi tribe, the Ash people, who are led by, yes, this villain we just talked about, Varang. And the conflict on Pandora is beginning to escalate because guess who's back? The same villain from the second and first film, Colonel Quaritch, played by Stephen Lang. They need to stop bringing him back. I guess that's a discussion for later on in this video. But yes, a new conflict emerges. You got the Ash people, you got the Na'vi, you got all the different tribes. Listen, it sounds cool on paper, but I'm gonna be honest with y'all, it didn't really work for me. Now, I don't want to start negative because I know what you guys are thinking. Does this dude even like these movies? Why is he reviewing it? It's my job. So let's get into the positives, you guys. And we're going to start with this. And this is, I guess, going without saying. The visuals in this film are absolutely stunning. Like, the VFX work is the best I've seen in any film. Like, if it was just a visual spectacle and I was grading it on that level, A+. And I said this about Way of Water in the first Avatar as well. But there's a reason these movies have set a new standard. It's because they do visual effects very well. James Cameron and the VFX team, the way that they're able to work in this harmonious fashion is really cool. And it's great to see some of the behind-the-scenes work on the movie also. Now, I did screen the film in Dolby 3D, and I'm somebody who wears prescription eyeglasses, so I won't lie to you guys, okay? It got a little uncomfortable after minute 45 because it was kind of just like pressing on the back of my ears a little bit and it was sliding down the bridge of my nose. So if you are an eyeglass wearer and you watch this in 3D, it's not going to be the most comfortable experience in the world, but it does look really cool. I mean, sure, did I get tired of it after the first hour? Yeah, I did. But, you know, it is kind of neat to see what they do with 3D and how it does at least help with any sort of immersion that this movie had for me. Now, when it comes to everything outside the VFX, I do want to shout out some of the motion capture actors and actresses because James Cameron, at the beginning of my screening, he introed the movie and there was this behind the scenes featurette and he said, there's no generative AI here. These are real actors doing real things. And they are. You know, there are some performances here that I'm like, dang, I kind of wish I saw this in live action. But I gotta start with Zoe Saldaña. For me, she's been carrying these 3 movies on her back, okay? She plays Neytiri, and she does such an incredible job at bleeding through the screen with her emotion. You just see her in this role, and I loved everything she brought to the character this time around. I thought that they gave her some more emotional complexities. So if you're looking for a deeper dive into the psyche of Neytiri, you get that here. She's grappling with the fact that her family's like half human and half Na'vi, technically. So it's neat to see what they do with Neytiri, but Zoe Saldaña is the perfect vehicle to drive this character forward. She's incredible at what she does. She's already one of my favorite actors in Hollywood. So the fact that she's here, I mean, gosh, she is like the best actress in this movie. So when it comes to who else, right, outside of Zoe Saldaña, I thought the newcomer here, Oona Chaplin, did a very good job as Varang. Now, Varang is a character that I actually wish they would have focused on more in this movie, and we'll get on that in a little bit in the negative section, but Varang is an interesting villain because she wasn't just born evil. She has, in her mind, a reason to hate the Na'vi and this like what is it that this tree that they worship, or this mother that Awa, was that what it's called? I think it's what it's called. And there are even some moments where I thought, my goodness, this character is sinister, brutal, and cunning, and that's due in large part to her acting. So huge props to her. Huge props to Zoe Saldaña. But then I gotta give credit where credit is due, because Sam Worthington has not been my favorite actor over the course of these movies, but I will say here in Fire and Ash, I actually thought he did well as Jake Sully. There's nothing that I would say really blew my mind, but he at least did a good job. The first 2 movies I felt were really rough for him, but I gotta say, I thought that he did really well going back and forth with Zoe Saldaña here, and you can tell that there was another level that he reaches in terms of his acting within the context of these movies. So yeah, I thought Sam Worthington did a good job. I mean, admittedly, he's not great in the first 2 films, but here he definitely like sort of changes the course for his character. Now, the story itself is one of those like, you either love it or you hate it at this point. And I'm just not the biggest fan of the story across these 3 movies. But there is one decent subplot here in Fire and Ash that I thought was better than any storyline thread in The Way of Water. Now, that's with Loak. That's Neytiri and Jake Sully's son. He's somebody who's kind of like the black sheep of his family in a way. Like, he's just sort of always thinking about how to tackle issues with solutions that are outside the box. You know, we're not going the traditional route. We're going to do something different. And Loak ends up sort of going on this journey of self-discovery after something happens in the film that I don't want to spoil. But Brian Dalton, the actor here, does a really good job at conveying this grieving sibling, all right? Because, again, he lost his bro. But he's trying to also win his father's approval at the same time by stepping up to lead. So it is kind of cool to see how they sort of write this character. And I also thought that it was nice that they gave him, Loak, I should say, more of a central focus to really show off Brian Dalton's acting chops. So yeah, I thought that was a decent subplot as well. And my last positive here that I have in this section is the fact that there were some, admittedly, pretty visually appealing action set pieces. I am really tired of the retreading of set pieces, and again, we'll talk about that in just a little bit, but there were some new set pieces here, like some action. I thought in the middle of the movie even, man, this is pretty cool. And you got the Ash people fighting the Na'vi, and it felt kind of nice, you know, to see something different, you know. The aerial scenes looked really cool, and I thought that the movie itself at least had a couple moments where I was thinking, dang, that's pretty cool. All right, now back to sleep. I'm kidding. I didn't fall asleep. I almost did. I was fine asleep in this movie. All right. So maybe that's a good transition and the time to get into the negatives for Avatar Fire and Ash, because, guys, I am over it, okay? I don't know, like, what else can these movies do? It's like James Cameron's running out of gas with these films now. I mean, I at one point thought, is this just Way of Water Part 2? And some of you were telling me in the comments that he wrote the script for Way of Water to be basically 2 movies, and this is part 2. Then why not call the film Avatar The Way of Water Part 2? You called it Fire and Ash, so it is, in my mind, a separate film. So it is just a retreading of Way of Water. You have literal storylines that are the exact same as the second film. There's a third act action set piece that literally involves a boat. And what did we have in the second film in the third act? A boat. Like, there's no freshness here. I think the freshest thing in this film was introducing Varang as a villain, but then you go away from her so much after the very beginning of the second act of the film. I just don't know what we're doing with these movies anymore. Not that I hate them, right? Because hate's a strong word, but these movies just aren't very good. And I think when you get away from the VFX, the actual substance of the film is lagging. The story is also just too busy for its own good. There are several storylines, subplots, C plots, D plots, and I don't even know what this movie is doing at some point. Like, they take a detour almost in the middle of the film, and I thought, okay, weren't we riding with some momentum with Varang and the Ash tribe against, like, Jake Sully and all his people? But then we go in a totally different direction, and oh, here comes Stephen Lang as Colonel Quaritch. He's back again. It's just tired storytelling. I think there's just too much in this script. And it's funny because some people would say, well, the solution for that is a longer film. No, the solution in this instance would be to cut out some of the filler in this movie. The second act itself is dreadful, and it just drags the film along. I'm sitting next to my buddy, and the whole time I'm thinking, I'm getting tired here. Why? And I'm just falling asleep. I'm nodding off a little bit. And then I of course, I'm waking up. I'm going to watch the movie. But that's very telling for me. If in the second act of a film, you're getting me to that point, this movie is just, when you get past the big set pieces, there's just nothing. It's like a hollow core for this film and its story. And this next negative is maybe going to sort of be different for everybody. Because as somebody who watched 3D for the first time in a big theater format with like this nature documentary, admittedly, I know it's not Avatar, but it's this nature documentary I watched at a local IMAX theater, and I thought, this is pretty dope, right? But it was only like a 20 to 30 minute like sort of wildlife feature, like a little short documentary type deal, and I thought that was good enough. And then you go to Avatar back in the 2000s, and I'm thinking, okay, wow, it was a long film for 3D, but it was kind of fun. But now we're 3 movies in, and I'm going to be honest, the 3D experience is just exhausting. For 3 hours and 13 minutes, I was literally just annoyed at some points. Like, I had to take my 3D glasses off because it was just, like I mentioned, like kind of hurting my ears. And there's so many things that you're thinking about outside of the film that just distracted me. And I think 3D is cool to a degree, like within a 30-minute time period, but anything past that, to me, is just completely exhausting, and it just did not work for me in this film because I don't necessarily think it added anything to the movie that put it over the top for me, and I believe that's also another issue. Now, when it comes to the directing and the style for this film, I'll be honest, I hardly felt James Cameron's style on Fire and Ash. Now, in the first Avatar, I kind of saw his style come through, right? Way of Water, definitely less so, but there was something there. Now, in Fire and Ash, you could have told me anybody else directed this movie, and I would have believed you. Because James Cameron, to me, it's not that he's a bad director. I think he's a great director. It's just, with this Avatar movie, dare I say that maybe he's just sort of lost the sauce a bit, for these movies at least. I don't see necessarily where you go forward from here. I mean, are we going to bring back the same villain? We're going to bring back Jake Sully, and it's just going to be the same retelling of Way of Water again? Like, where do you go from here? And James Cameron, I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised if it's his baby. He's not going to do this, but I wouldn't be surprised if he gives the reins to another director at some point. And for as much as I really enjoyed Zoe Saldaña's performance in this movie, it's not enough to overshadow some of the absolutely awful performances in this film. Listen here. You wanted a movie about the Na'vi, right? Well, too bad, because you're getting a movie about Spider, the character played by actor Jack Champion, the son of Colonel Quaritch, who goes into into Pandora and wants to be a Na'vi so bad, right? If you don't like this character, or if you don't find him that, I guess engaging, you're going to hate this film because there's way too much emphasis placed on his character. And I am so sorry to say this, but Jack Champion is terrible in this role. It is so one note. It is not convincing. The line delivery is just way off, but there's also really bad writing for his character. It's generic. It's very predictable. It's terrible moments of one-liners. Woo, mamma mia. It's bad. There were moments where I almost laughed. Like, and that's not what the movie's trying to convey and get out of me. So, listen, to me, it felt like they were just scraping the bottom of the barrel and trying to find every little subplot to extract. And Spiders is one that gets the most shine in this film. At one point, after the midway point of this film, right, it doesn't have anything to do with the Na'vi. It's all about Spider. I don't love that, you know? And then you have other performances here that just, they're good actors, but they're just really, really misused and miscast, to be honest with you. I still think Edie Falco, who I really loved in The Sopranos, not good in this movie, hasn't been good in any of these movies, but especially in this film, she is bad. And then you have Giovanni Ribisi, and he's good, but in this movie, miscast and misused. The man shows up, and it is comedic, but not on purpose. Like, he's not convincing in this film. These are capable actors, and they're just used improperly here. I don't know. Basically, every human character in this movie is either subpar to terrible. So it's just, I don't know. I don't know how anyone can actually say that they enjoy these performances. And maybe that's me being too harsh, but guys, it just gets to the point where it's just laughable. And lastly, while I know I talked about the runtime of the movie, I just got to say, I think the film overstays its welcome. I'm not a fan of just always cutting a film down if you don't like it. Sometimes films are made to be 3 hours for a reason. And if you don't like it, you don't. Listen, I'm a Martin Scorsese fan, right? So, like, one of the best directors of all time, his movies are really long, right? But they work, right? In this movie, it's very long and it doesn't work. So after the first hour and a half, I was thinking, actually, if they condensed this film, it might have actually been good. But instead, it just overstays its welcome and ends up being just such a chore to get through. Is it the worst movie of the year? No, I don't think it is. So let's get into my final thoughts here. Avatar: Fire and Ash is not the worst movie of 2025. I'm talking about it like it is, but it's definitely not. It's just a film, I think, that will appease fans who are diehard and they just ride for these movies, right? You'll like it, maybe even love it if you're an Avatar fan. But if you sort of are on the fence like me with these movies and none of them have really won you over head over heels, then you're not going to enjoy this movie. It's going to be a hard watch, and I don't think, for me, it even warrants such a big theatrical viewing experience. If you're not sold on these films, just wait for Disney+. I don't know, I hate to say it, but like, this movie is not going to justify the cost of a premium format ticket. It is just, outside of all the amazing VFX, outside of three very good performances, to be honest with you, the movie is hollow. There's nothing that genuinely hooked me about this film, and I can't tell you that Avatar: Fire and Ash is great. Instead, it burns up, and it just fades away the minute you walk out of the theater. Nothing sticks with you. It is it's just not good. And that's the thing about these films is I'm walking in with an open mind, but I'm walking away thinking, just stop. James Cameron, just please do another film. I don't want to see these Avatar movies continue along this same path. So we'll see what happens with the 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th film, right? Because I think there's like 8 of these things that are on the way. But yeah, Avatar: Fire and Ash just completely burns to a crisp for me and falls flat. So I would give it like a 2 out of 5. You know what I mean? Maybe a 2.5, but no, I think I'm just going to give it 2 stars out of 5. Yeah. So the movie's not very good, but if you've listened this far and you made it this point to the video, please let me know down below. Did you think it was very good? Did you enjoy the film? Do you agree with me? And if you don't, it's okay. Also, hit that like button and subscribe to the channel for more reviews like this, especially heading into the new year. But this year ain't done. Got my top 10 list coming out soon and honorable mentions. Can't wait to reveal that to you all. And I'm wondering if anyone's going to get my number 1. Alrighty, y'all. Again, thanks so much for watching. God bless you guys. And I'll catch you at the next screening. Oh, man. All I know is the minute I hit stop recording, someone's outside my window. And they're going to be raising their pitchforks at me. I know it.